Thanks so much, everybody, for joining us today. We are so excited to present this Lunch and Learn. It is about marketing analytics and AI. I am here with my co-presenter today, Chris Black, who is coming from snowy Virginia. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
To set the stage, this is as much about learning from each other as it is about learning from us. So feel free to drop into the chat any tools you might be using, any use cases that you might be exploring. Nobody in this AI space has all the answers. We are all learning from each other, and we are simply the hosts today. So let's keep the conversations going and keep the learning happening, not only in what we're presenting, but also from each other. And welcome. So today, this is brought to you by Marketing Frontier. That is my consulting organization. I am Melissa at MarketingFrontier.ai. If you'd like to do any follow-up, we consider ourselves your partner in AI integration. So if you are looking for help on use cases, training, tool selection, process optimization, it's always about the people and getting people on board, that kind of thing, integration support. Feel free to reach out. Would love. I always love chatting about AI. So connect with me on LinkedIn, reach out via email. So to get us started here, we are going to do a little icebreaker question. How are you currently using AI in your marketing analytics? Go ahead and drop that in the chat. And if you're not using it, then feel free to say that as well. You know, we're all here to learn. And while you're doing that, I was about to say, I have a little intro slide here, so we'll introduce you to who we are. Chris, why don't you kick us off?
Hi, everyone. I'm Chris Black. I am currently a fractional CMO and COO focused on early stage tech startups. Although I have to admit, most of my gigs lately are around AI operations, especially because a lot of these tech companies are not getting a lot of funding. And so we're using AI to try to accelerate the growth for the organizations without that funding, stave off some hiring because there's no money to hire anyway. But I've been in the tech space for about 25 years, based in Longmont, Colorado, and I've only been here for just over a year now.
Great. Thanks so much, Chris. And as I said, I'm Melissa Reeve, co-founder of MarketingFrontier.ai. I have been a marketing executive for 20 some years, mostly in the education and technology spaces. Rode the wave of digital marketing when that came on the scene. You know, my gray hair indicates I've been around for a little bit here, and just super excited to be exploring things in the AI space. I'm reading some of the chats coming in. It looks like we have some folks who have not yet started to use marketing and AI analytics, and Trish has some experience here. So we will all, like I said, kind of learn together and learn from each other. I'm going to go back a slide. Just what we're going to cover today. Chris is going to talk a little bit about and then we are going to dive right into the demo, talking about tools and prompts and how to actually apply this to marketing analytics. We'll integrate some real world, that's always so hard for me to say, use cases, and we'll give you some takeaways. I'm saying that this level is advanced beginner because we are not going to go over things like what is a prompt and what is AI. We're going to assume that you know what a prompt is. We're going to assume that you know what ChatGPT is. So that's why I'm labeling this advanced beginner. And if you don't know those terms, I've just given you two things to be Googling while we're doing some talking. All right, Chris, take it away. How is AI transforming marketing analytics?
Excellent. Let's come into the first slide here. So we all know there's a ton of data, right? That's one of our banes in marketing, is that there's a lot of data. And when that started, all those tools moved to the cloud, we had like limitless data. So we're just capturing information, and it's pretty noisy, right? It's hard to figure out what to find, how to talk about it, like with our executives, right? They always want to know what's successful, what's not successful. The sales teams want to know what we've been doing for them lately. Things shift all the time. Campaigns are shifting all the time. We have a hard time knowing what's performing well and how to double click and accelerate that, or what's not performing well. Like we might have to wait a long time. And then sometimes, if especially in bigger organizations, we need like data scientists to help us sift through all of this stuff and all of these different tools. And on top of that, we may not have access to all of the data. Maybe some of that's sitting with sales. Sales doesn't have access to all of our data. So it's in disparate systems. It creates conflicts. We just have tremendous amounts. There's a lot of ways that AI can help us. Not all of it solvable by AI, but there's a lot of things that AI can do to help us like cut through the noise, tell better stories, be able to adapt more quickly in our campaigns, and really make sure that we're being transparent with our partners across the whole go-to-market system so that they see what's going on with us, and hopefully we're also seeing what's going on with them. We can go into the next slide. So I'm just going to launch into a demo because I'm pretty sure everything that I just told you is not stuff that you don't already know. Like we all live this every day. We could be a marketer for a week and we would probably already know that. So I'm just going to jump right into how you can use your LLMs for solving some of those kinds of problems. I'm going to start with the workflow. So in the LLM initially, and this is like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, whichever one that you like, I'm not going to get into which model's better. You may see news where one is better than another. They're all leapfrogging each other. Every day they're getting better. So it really doesn't matter. It's whichever system you're most comfortable in. If you're really geeky, I'm happy to talk to you on the side as to why I pick the ones I pick. For the most part, for our purposes, it really doesn't matter. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to prime the LLM. Basically, you're going to warm it up. So we could do this a number of different ways, but basically you're going to ask it certain questions to get it used to the conversation you're about to have. And it gives you an opportunity to correct its knowledge. You've probably heard about hallucinations. So keep in mind, these tools are word prediction tools, which means they don't know anything. They're really incredibly smart, put smart in quotes, but they're really prediction models. So you want to think of them as interns. And this priming process is going to help you get better results out of it. The next is data collection, right? As I just mentioned, our data is in like a million sources. We want to pull that data to feed into our LLM. And then the analysis. There are certain tricks that we can do or tools, tips to get the best analysis out of it. And then, of course, we want to take action. None of this is useful if we don't actually take action on what we learn. And then the next slide, I'm going to show you how to do each of these steps.
Oh, good. Because I was like, I don't even know what prime means. So
Exactly.
I can't.
And I'm stealing this concept. I'm going to be really clear. The concept of priming, I picked up from Christopher Penn. He
Mm.
is one of three of my favorite people to follow on LinkedIn. Christopher Penn runs an organization called Trust Insights, and every day he is providing different tools, tips, and tricks, and is kind of amazing. And if you're really into this, he even has a set of classes you could take. But watch him. If you go to any of the big marketing conferences, he's often speaking. Make sure you see him speak. He did this talk about priming at the HubSpot inbound conference, and it is recorded. You can actually go to his website and see it. Highly recommend it. I'm giving you like the 3-minute version of a 40-minute demo. So that's where I learned about priming. I just wanted to give him the shout out. So think about your LLM like a new hire or an intern, right? It needs to understand the business goals, the business, your personas, your ICPs. So you want to feed some of that in, but priming is also going to be, and I've actually got an example in a video demo of this, of what are the best practices? What are 5 things that people think are true that are not? What are 5 things that people think are false but are actually true? And what else do we know? Do you know that we haven't already talked about? And then correct it with each of those things you want to correct it. I'm going to be really specific when you're asking for insights. What is the goal of the website? Some of our websites might just be brand recognition. Some of it might be maybe you're a seed company and you're actually trying to get investment. So it's not always a conversion to revenue that you're looking for. So be really specific when you talk to this about what is the goal, who is the audience, and then ask really smart questions. And there's a lot of us that you can follow out on LinkedIn. We're all providing everything that we're learning. And we are all, let's be clear, really learning how to do all of this. So make sure you're jumping into those conversations too, and build your own community where you're all experimenting and finding out what's working and what's not. So the main takeaway here is that a primed AI is like a trained analyst. It will uncover patterns that you don't see in the data. Our brains are not good at seeing these patterns, especially with the amount of data that we have in all of our systems. So next slide here.
All right.
So
Oh,
here's
I
the,
was just about to say, can you give us an example of priming prompts?
yes, and did the video not come through? There's no play button. Oh my
Oh,
goodness, I have a beautiful video, and if Melissa's sharing the slides afterwards, you'll get to see it and
well,
press play.
I could see if I could get it queued up. We're kind of casual here.
I had it
Um,
embedded, and it's really cool.
I
Now,
know.
again, Christopher Penn, when he goes through this, it's about 40 minutes to go through the whole process of mapping out a customer journey. In this case, I'm shortening it to the buyer's journey. So the video is really around that prompting. And you'll see if the video can pop up, it's going to provide like
Here.
a tome,
Hang
like
on here.
customer journey maps, and you
Patience
have to.
is a virtue, I've heard. And I think I know what the issue is because I downloaded the PowerPoint. And then
Oh,
I think you had it embedded in
I
Google,
did.
but I've
I thought I
got
was being
it
all
up.
clever.
So, all right.
Well, I
I
could
just hit play
probably,
and see what happens.
yep, let's see if that'll work.
Uh-oh.
No?
Can you? I think I've lost your audio now.
Oh no. Testing 1, 2. Am I
Seems like
still?
you can hear me though, so I'm gonna
I
hit.
can. I can. Ah, there we go. So this is ChatGPT. That's my tool of choice. And you'll see I'm putting each of these 5 prompts into here, and look at how much data that's producing. So if you're new to marketing, this is a great way to learn. If you're experienced, like Melissa and I have like too many decades of experience that we want to admit to probably, we can then correct. We can take a look at this and tell it, actually, this is what the customer journey really is. I don't like this aspect of it, and you can change it. And now it's in its recent memory, and it's going to pull from that as you start to ask your various questions. So when I prime, these are the 5 prompts that I'm using. And you can see all of the actual text prompts because I changed the font on Melissa here so that it looks a little more like code. But what do you know about the best practices, in this case, for building data-driven customer journey maps? But it can be for any of the things that you want to learn about. What are some common mistakes that less experienced people might be making about whatever your topic is? What are commonly believed things about customer journey maps or whatever the topic is that are believed to be true but are actually false? What are things that are believed to actually be false but are actually true? And then what are some expert tips and tricks that we haven't already discussed? And absolutely correct it if you see anything that isn't quite right, that isn't quite the right language, change it. This is also where I start to maybe upload certain content, and we're going to talk about that in our next slide, maybe.
Okay, there we go. All right.
Okay. So mapping your data sources. We just talked about how many data sources. So I'm pulling in from things like Google Analytics, Google Search Console, uh, uh, like the interest and affinity metrics, CRM data. We can talk about like privacy. That's a big topic that's kind of outside scope today, but a topic that's important. Make sure you are following your company's AI policies that might be in place. And then any kind of LinkedIn, anything that has data. All of your ads, emails, all of these are different data sources. And I like to kind of capture that ahead of time. And capturing that can just be a screenshot. You don't have to upload Excel files or Google Sheets. You can literally take a screenshot and upload that, and that's enough data. So if we go to the next slide, you'll see the types of prompting that I'll do. So let's get started with whatever with our data. So whatever verb and noun you want in there, that's our variable. So first I'm going to tell you what we do so you understand what is and is not available. And then I may upload or I will write out that we have websites with conversion in this particular instance. I've got LinkedIn, I've got advertising, I'm doing email marketing. Whatever those are within your environment that you're going to be loading, you can start to build that in. So let's start loading that data. Here is my Google Analytics for the affinity data. Take a look at the data and then provide your analysis. And then you're going to repeat that and it's going to build on itself. Again, I'm usually just doing screenshots. I'm not exporting and uploading. I literally just take a screenshot snipping tool and copy and paste that in there. It makes it so much easier. So do that a bunch of times. And many of you might have 10 or 15 data sources. People like me, at a little startup that's just starting out, I might have 2, 3, or 4. It might be Google Search Console and GA4 is all. Okay, next screen,
Oh,
maybe.
is that the one? Or is it? No, there we go.
Oh, one more back.
One more back. All right.
Oh, wait, maybe it was the next one. Sorry.
Yeah, okay. All right. We're good.
All right, now we're going to start doing the analysis and connecting those dots. I feel like I lost a slide. I might have moved it by accident. I probably did.
Do you want to see the next one?
No, this is fine.
Okay.
The next
All right.
one's the example. So yeah,
Okay.
I changed my mind 10 minutes before this in between the internet outage. So now we're going to connect those dots. And no matter how early of a stage startup you might be at or how far along you are, we at least have Google Analytics traffic data. We have search data. We probably have some landing pages. So I'm taking it from like the lowest common denominator. So we're connecting the dots, right? We're going to look and see what the high traffic pages are. So what are the search terms that Google is using to drive traffic to our websites? Those are often not going to be the pages that convert. I don't know about you, but in 25 years of marketing, I'm not sure that my happiest landing pages that Google likes are ever the ones that actually get the form fills. Maybe I suck as a marketer. That's entirely possible. But that has been my experience at many clients and many companies. So what you want to do is now figure out which pages are converting, where those gaps are. You're going to bridge that gap by giving really good calls to action to the pages that actually convert. So pull them in. Maybe it's a blog that's really search optimized or now GEO for generative engine optimized. Maybe that's where all your traffic's getting to, but there's no form because, it's a blog. It's a thought leadership piece. Now your calls to action can drive specifically to those that do convert the best. So this is your kind of starting point. It helps you bridge that gap and it analyzes that data for you. Let's go to the next page for the prompts. So once I've loaded everything, we've gathered a lot of data about my marketing. My goal is this: conversions, revenue, whatever that is. Based on everything that we've talked about and all of our analysis so far, create a consolidated, comprehensive, unabridged, verbose, complete, all the words in here, and whatever it is you want. In this case was a customer journey map. And you can see then I took the data, and I'll tell you, it was about 20 pages worth of total data that I pulled in a Word document that I would never give to an executive because, their eyes would glaze over and I would never get time with that executive again. I throw it into Gamma, which I understand Melissa's going to be showing you in a little while. It's my favorite slide tool, and this is what comes out of it. So I post it into the awareness stage, consideration, and so forth in my map, and then the key insights. So this is my analysis, and this all came from one of my clients where I went through each of those prompts, and I was able to find out in 40 minutes which pages were the high organic growth, which ones had the best content downloads, what's converting, right? And I'm able to see where my opportunities for improvement are within my marketing organization to go in. I know what's working. Let's not break that. I know it's not working. Great. Let's fix that. And all of those. And I think last slide for this one.
Yeah, so thanks for that that overview. So many great prompts in there, so many great use cases. Just love being able to apply AI to do this type of analysis so quickly and so thoroughly. So thanks for walking us through that. Yeah, there's some nice back and forth happening in the chat. So again, we're monitoring that channel as well. Feel free to drop questions or observations in there. I am going to demo marketing analytics presentations because I feel like in my world as a marketer, I have done my fair share of presenting the data. And so we wanted to touch on this as well. So let's talk a little bit about AI assisted presentations, taking some of that pain out of presentation creation. You know, as much as we love to think that executives have all the access they need to get their data real time from dashboards, we still need presentations. I'd love to see in the chat if you are making presentations or have had to make presentations, if this is still a reality for you. And I want to highlight that this is an example of a routine tasks ripe for automation. So that's what we're looking for when we talk about AI and analytics. What are the things that you do over and over and over again that we can start to automate? Okay, so I've set this up where one slide is the prompt and one slide is the output. You know, we could have done this real time. It's a little nerve-wracking to do that. So I took a little bit of the risk out of that and I'm giving it to you here. So here is what I'm going to call data to insights. So you've got the raw data that Chris was talking about. You can upload a screenshot of it. You can upload the file. There was a great question in the chat about data privacy. Sometimes I ask the LLM itself what it does with the data. You can always upload the terms and conditions from the LLM into the LLM itself and say, give me a summary of this and highlight data privacy. So it's an example of using AI to learn about AI. Here is summarize the key trends from this marketing performance report, highlight the anomalies, top performing channels, and recommendations for improvement. So basically, help me analyze this data. Okay, the output it gave me. Now, I want to share with you that this was just dummy data that I asked AI to create for me. So this, just with that small set of dummy data, it said in that limited prompt, I really didn't give it much more of a prompt than that. And I want to highlight that that is a change that's happening right now with these large language models. And Chris, I'd be interested if you're seeing this too. In the beginning, it felt like the beginning being like a year ago. You had to give it this long prompt, tell it its role, tell it what it was gonna do. And anymore, I feel like I can get away with a little prompt like this. Chris, what's been your experience?
So I actually have created my custom GPTs and I still have my long prompts in the custom GPT to be really specific. I still think context is important, but you're right. With each new model that comes out, you need less and less. If you
Yeah.
use the free version, like if you're on ChatGPT 3.5, yes, definitely give it the longest prompt possible, right? As
Mhm.
much context as you can. But the newer versions, yeah, you can get away with a lot less.
Yeah, cool. All right, so now here we have, it gave me total campaigns, open rate, click-through rate, all that great stuff. So data to insights. Now we're going to go from insights to outline. And again, this is the only prompt I gave it. Next, generate a slide deck of outline from the insights. And the prompt was, no, sorry, the prompt is on the right. I did give it a little bit more. Create a 5-slide PowerPoint deck with this report with the following sections. I wanted a title, key highlights, channel performance, insights and recommendations, and next steps. So go ahead and you, but this is, again, not very much, but a little bit of guidance saying this is what I'm looking for. So then it gave me a nice little outline, and you can see that it actually gave me the downloadable file. So the PowerPoint deck summarizing your marketing analytics report is ready and you can download it. And I will say sometimes it forgets that it can create PowerPoint slides. So Chris is nodding. And you can just remind it and say, remember that you're able to create a PowerPoint deck. So it actually did. And you can see the output here that it created a roughly formatted PowerPoint slide with the campaign highlights. Okay, so from there, I gave it another prompt and I said, go ahead and add speaker notes to each slide explaining the insights in a concise, executive-friendly style. So now I have my talk track. And the talk track is so critical because this can also be then repurposed into an email. It could be repurposed into all kinds of ways, highlights for other people. Note that I did this in 2 steps. And I did do that because AI can kind of choke sometimes. I mean, sometimes it's really good. If I had said, give me that 5 slide PowerPoint deck and include the speaker notes to each slide, it might have done it okay. But for this demonstration, I decided to break it up into two. All right, so now I've got a new deck, again with a link that I could download, and with the new revised PowerPoint. And I see that I did not include a screenshot of that because it was essentially the same. Oh, there it is. All right. So here it is. So we had the talk track now on this rough, no formatting type of presentation. And this might be enough for you because you've got corporate brand templates that you could just suck this into. That might be enough to get you going. I did go in afterwards, just side note, and clean up, like I did a find replace on all those asterisks, and I cleaned up the formatting a little bit with some find and replace. But you could stop here, and all of a sudden you've gone from data to insights to a talk track in a pretty short amount of time. All right. But me, I didn't have a brand. Well, I did have a brand template. It was just in this tool. And this tool is called Gamma.app. And it is a tool for taking things in outline form. And I'd love to see in the chat again if anybody has used this tool outside of Chris. Um, so all you can do, you can see you can do an AI import. And with the AI import, it's kind of cool because it actually then uses AI images and the layout and potentially rewrite the content. Or if you don't want it to rewrite the content, then you can just do this plain import. You can still create your AI images later. All right, so I went ahead and I said, go ahead and import it with AI. And you can see here that I wanted it to really work on the layout. So I said, transform the content versus the polishing the slides, which would be a little bit more minor, just minor visual tweaks. All right, so then I got to this slide, which you can see here, Gemma, and I am giving you a little bit of a tool demo here because I want you to understand all the little things that you can do to tweak here in Gemma. And I'm sure there's other tools out here. I'm just trying to give you, I'm not advocating for Gamma per se, but I want to give you a flavor of what's possible. So you can see here, do you want to preserve the text? Do you want to condense it? Do you want AI to generate it? Do you want the amount of text per card to be brief, medium, detailed? And then you can even specify your persona, HubSpot users, marketing professionals, executives. What do you want the tone to be? Do you want AI to generate the images? And then underneath that drop down, you can even pick your AI model. So you can see with this application, you get pretty granular in terms of how you can set up the presentation. So pick a theme. I actually have a custom theme. It's not very elaborate, but this is where you could set up your own company's theme. And then that's also very helpful. Okay, so then this is the presentation that Gemma generated for me. I will say that I can now, having used this tool, spot Gemma presentations a mile away because they almost all use these chevrons and they all use different types of icons. My guess is that will get better as time goes on. So you can see how we went in a short period of time from just some raw data. Sorry for all the scrolling. We go from raw data, this, into a draft slide, into a polished slide, all within the course of about 15 or 20 minutes, if that. So it can be a huge time saver for any marketers who are looking to go from analysis to presentation in a short amount of time. All right, we're back to another demo. And again, feel free to drop comments in, reactions. If you have other PowerPoint tools that you're using or other analytics tools, feel free to drop those in. All right, Chris, back to you.
Awesome. And I will advocate that in my mind, Gamma is currently the best presentation software out there. I've tried Beautiful.ai, I've tried Tome, T-O-M-E. Nothing compares to how good Gamma is because most of them you can, like Beautiful, you can give it a topic and it'll create a slide deck for you on a topic, and that's fine. But for our purposes, like we have data, we're trying to communicate something very specific, and the ability to upload a slide and have magic happen is
Mhm.
incredible. So I do the exact same workflow. I'm doing it all in ChatGPT. I might take that 22-page novel that I just wrote about the customer journey, and I'll tell it, please create that kind of draft that Melissa just showed us and throw that into Gamma. So it is so powerful. You can get through things so fast. But now I want to touch base on AI isn't going to solve all the problems, right? I know we're talking AI in this group, but one of the biggest challenges we have is uniting GTM teams. And we do that with a single source of truth. And there are ways AI can help us, and I will get to that. But I do want to remind us that if you have no AI tools today, you still have tools to help break down some of these silos, to communicate that data. And I find the easiest way to do that is with the single source of truth. And when I'm working with people, it's CRM, right? That's where sales works. That's where the executives work. So wherever the CRM is, we want to make sure our data is flowing into that, and that we are doing dashboards. We're building dashboards so that we have that alignment, right? Our goals have to be aligned with sales. It can't just be, well, I got this click-through rate, so sales, why aren't you closing anything, right? We can't operate that way. None of us will have jobs if there's no revenue. So ultimately, we need visibility for ourselves, to the executive team, transparency with our sales partners and our customer success partners. I do that all within dashboarding so that we're all looking at the same place, at the same data. And when I meet with sales, um, it's in their tool, and we can have a conversation that really breaks through all of those boundaries, and we're not pointing fingers anymore. There's also no black box, right? How many of us are using our tools within our marketing automation or ABM platforms? That's a real black box for most of the organization, because we're the only ones that see that data. Sales isn't seeing it. The leadership's not seeing it. And by the way, this goes for sales and customer success too. We don't want them to operate in their black boxes. All of us, we should know what sales is on the hook for revenue goals, so that we are helping them. So I'm going to show you some dashboards that I like to build out. In this case, there's a few in here. We've got our influenced pipeline. We're not going to get into whether or not there should be an influenced versus sourced. That's a religious debate. I'm happy to have another time. But for this particular organization, these are real dashboards I built out, actually now several years ago, and that was how we wanted to operate. But then there's also an SDR dashboard, because SDRs are really a shared resource between sales and marketing. And so I built a dashboard to help the SDRs stay on track and for sales to understand how things are working. And on the next slide, um, we'll look at the sales related ones. Seriously, if you're not attending sales meetings or you don't know their numbers, absolutely get with them. You should know all of their numbers. And so I have a clean your room report or dashboard that helps sales before what I like to call the weekly inquisition, when they get their butts kicked by the head of sales. I help them by having a clean your room dashboard. And that includes my little marketing things snuck into there. Like, hey, we sent some leads. There's some unread leads in here. Why don't we clean that up before the sales leader sees that, right? So these are examples of how I try to make sure there's no black box across the whole of the organization. And again, also don't forget your customer success partners. Now, my favorite one is the next slide. I saved my favorite for the end here. And this is an ABM dashboard. In my mind, it's the holy grail, because in enterprise sales, we know that there are multiple touch points across these kinds of enterprise sales. And so this shows, what are the A accounts? What are the B accounts? How are we reaching them? Are we surrounding that account? And when I meet with sales, usually every week to 2 weeks, I have product management in there. I have the SDRs. I have the sales rep. I usually even include sales engineers if that exists. And we look at this data. So I keep it holistic for the executive, the sales executive, and then I have versions of this. You see there's drop downs at the top so that I can dig in by region. And we can do things, like, say, hey, we saw this company on the website. Are you engaged with them? Or are we not engaged with them? And we can look at that data. So I keep it holistic for the executive, the sales executive, and then I have versions of this. You see there's drop downs at the top so that I can dig in by region. And we can do things like say, hey, we saw this company on the website. Are you engaged with them? Or, hey, I heard in the sales call you have a deal about to close, but we're not seeing that fingerprint actually showing up here. So one of my favorite case studies is this poor sales guy trying to close a deal. Gosh, he'd been working it for 15 months, and he's saying probably, I'm going to close this deal this quarter and it's going to be awesome. And then I pulled him aside afterwards and I'm like, oh, honey, you're not closing the deal this quarter. There's no digital fingerprint here. We got together with the SDR, surrounded his account, and while he did not close it that quarter, he did close it the following quarter because marketing helped him surround that account and make sure that he could see what he hadn't seen yet.
Nice.
Next slide.
All right. I have a burning question.
Yes.
Can I ask it?
Of course.
So, Chris, I have to let you know that when I see these dashboards, I'm pretty intimidated. Your data, and I see these and I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I can be doing that. So, my question is this. I know there's AI baked into these tools, but is it as simple as working with ChatGPT? Like, could you say, I'm looking to create a dashboard around X, Y, and Z as a prompt? Like, how does that work?
So I believe the new operations would probably help because I think with ChatGPT operations and most of these other tools are going to bring those in, probably can actually look at your screen and help walk you through that. I've
Mhm.
heard of a number of examples. I haven't yet. Most of these are things that Salesforce had already pre-built, so
So
you
these
can go
these are
in
canned reports.
and with some modifications. Now the
Yeah.
ABM
Okay.
one is not as canned, but
Uh,
HubSpot has a tremendous number of those. And then you modify them if you like the little
mhm.
like speed thing. I love my little speed thing that Salesforce has.
Yeah.
HubSpot doesn't have as good a one. So there's a lot of this that's done there. But these tools are also incorporating AI where you can go in and say, hey, I need a report with these elements. I want to
Mhm.
see how many deals that we've closed with a marketing source of XYZ. And
Mhm.
it'll now start to build these reports. I will say, I think Salesforce is doing a better job today than I've seen from HubSpot, but HubSpot's going to get there fast. It is
Mhm.
better every week that I use it.
Mhm.
And make sure if you're not using the thumbs up and thumbs down functionality in all of these, make sure you're doing that because that's how we feed back to these organizations what's working and what's not,
Yeah.
and provide that. And I see a question in the chat. I'm actually using the free version of HubSpot today for my personal business, and I'm using various kinds of HubSpots for other startups. So it's a great question. You don't get many dashboards within the HubSpot, the free version of HubSpot, but you do get 5 dashboards. So check your version and what you have access to, but you should be able to get to some of these already. And then HubSpot communities. I mean, if you're not in there, make sure that you are like joining your local communities because there's so much knowledge. There is an administrator one. So even if you're not the admin for your HubSpot or Salesforce account, I'd recommend going in and listening to those. And you can be doing some work, but start to hear what's possible within these tools, and it'll help be less intimidating all the time.
Mhm.
And Trish was asking if I used SFDC for these dashboards. Yes, these ones are all specifically Salesforce.com. That
Mhm.
is really my favorite tool. But if you're with a little company that doesn't have a lot of money, you're probably in HubSpot today. And it is okay. It's not quite as good, but it's okay. And you can get to a lot of this.
Yes. So we have another fun question in the chat, and I always love getting to those questions. So I'm gonna field that one too, which is can AI deliberately translate deliberately confusing utility bills? Absolutely. Just say put this into plain English. I've done that for like vet medical what do you call that? Like your patient record. I said translate this. In fact, I did it yesterday. My financial I got a financial report that was confusing and I was like, can you help make sense of this? So absolutely do make sure your data is turned off. So you're not just uploading your name and your account numbers in there or redact them. You can black it out and upload that file. So be cognizant of your data, but yes, absolutely.
Oh yeah, and translate white papers. Like if you're looking at like these technical white papers, especially as you're getting into various generative AI tools, like upload some of these papers, and it is really fascinating. And I'll ask, what does this actually mean? Like there's a
Mhm.
lot of jargon, there's a lot of stuff. It will totally translate some of the most complex topics.
Cool. All right,
So
where does AI add value?
yeah, so I mean, literally what I just showed, there was no AI in any of the dashboards I showed that broke those GTM silos. However, today we do have these AI tools within, and they're baked in, right? They're baked into the CRMs we're using today. They're getting baked into all of our marketing tools. But pattern recognition, just like I showed with that customer journey map, like it's AI is great at seeing patterns. Our brains can't hold more than a few variables in any particular time. That is not the issue that we have with Gen AI, right? That sucker can like go to town on pattern recognition. So use it to look for those patterns. It can be an early warning system, right? It can flag accounts. So think about our CS brothers and sisters, right? They're trying to reduce churn, right? And we know that customers are way cheaper to keep than it is for sales to go create new ones. So having that early warning system and looking at these digital fingerprints can be really, really helpful. I've been doing it manually for years, and it is incredible that I no longer have to think about it. I can just watch and have the AI look for that. Forecasting. So thinking about some of those forecasts, sales forecasts, and what kinds of leads are converting. You can actually ask it, how's this compared to my personas and my ICPs? Are they converting or is it something else converting? And then the natural language summaries. If you ever have to create word slides for your head of marketing or your head of sales and marketing, head of GTM, head of revenue, whatever, like you ever see their eyes glaze over when you start to talk about any of these metrics? Um, Using these systems to create the summaries like Melissa had just shown is amazing. I have been able to produce so much for CEOs that don't understand marketing to
Mhm,
then deliver to the boardroom, which just makes all of our jobs so much easier when the board understands what we're doing.
for sure.
Next.
All right, here's the mother load.
And this is just a small amount, right? You use your imagination. Anything that you are struggling with doing, ask ChatGPT. If you need to create code, you can ask ChatGPT. Like if you've got marketing email and you're struggling, like ask ChatGPT. Um, you can ask it to analyze just tons of data and comparisons. And if you're in an MQL to SQL kind of thing, you can watch those metrics. You can ask it any of these kinds of things. You can ask it, what question should I be asking you? Like, I created
Mhm.
all of my custom GPTs by asking ChatGPT to tell me how the custom GPT would work. How can I make it better? How can I communicate more clearly to create those? Um, so the sky's really the limit. And our
Mhm.
imaginations can come up with the most amazing ideas, anything that you're struggling with. Now, I will say, if you are using it for content creation, which most of us on this call probably just use it to help us write, web content, social media, marketing emails. You can use it more of a thought partner, but you can also create an editor. So I actually, for all of my clients and for myself, I have my content creator and I have my content editor. And I always have it go back to my personas and ICPs to check because the content creator has one brain on and like us thinks that everything it writes is brilliant. Like I know everything I write is just perfect. Like it's awesome. But my myself as the editor disagrees with me wholeheartedly. Our GPTs will do the same. Our LLMs will absolutely do the same. So think in terms like you can run it through one, like
Mhm.
Melissa's example earlier, you can run it through with the content creator like that. But then Melissa could run it through an editor and say, hey, take a look at this and make sure that this is aligned and communicates clearly to an executive or whatever that audience is. And it will come up with some really amazing edits.
So someone asked if we're providing the slides. I don't provide the slides. We will provide the recording, but I'll provide you a little hack here. So let's just say you're watching this and you're like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of text. I want to really capture these prompts. Take the screen grab, save it to your computer, upload the screen grab into ChatGPT and say translate, transcribe this into a downloadable document. And then voila, you have prompts that you can cut and paste from.
And
All
you can do this
right.
with all kinds of crazy stuff too, right? So my boyfriend's mother has the most bizarre recipes that are incomplete and they're all pictures. And so I just did
Mm.
that tool where I uploaded it, asked it to translate his mother's recipes and then to add the details that were missing because it was all off at the top of her mind of like stuff. Amazing.
Amazing.
So I would say aligning GTM teams isn't about buying more tools or more AI. It's about using what we already have and building the trust between our teams. So don't necessarily feel like you have to go buy a new tool to show what I just showed you. Like everything that I just showed you is, other than I pay $20 a month for ChatGPT and I pay whatever Gamma is, um, like most of these tools are already free, and the free versions will probably already give you leaps and bounds farther than what you've been doing if you're still doing it manually.
All right. All right. So we have about 8 minutes left. We were going to do these, share even more case studies, but I feel like we kind of worked them in. And so I want to open it up for Q&A. We did have one question in here. We answered some of them as we went. One was, can we see examples of data slides it creates? So I don't know, like Chris, I would love to show how you can use ChatGPT to make a chart or Claude to make a visual asset.
I find those do not work well for charts. I always have to fix the charts, and I am still going back to Excel to create my data charts because the data is never right in any of the tools that I've used. So for
Mhm.
pretty graphics, I'm using Gamma. And if I can't get the right graphic out of Gamma, if you've got Photoshop, the Photoshop photo generator is also pretty freaking amazing. And so I'm using a combination of those tools. But
Mhm.
for a chart, I would still go to Excel to build those.
That's right. And I also use Napkin.ai. So Napkin.ai, let's see here if I can do just a little bit of live. Oh God, it's like when you
I was
go
going to say,
live, it just all
Melissa,
disappears. What?
if it helps, I can do a screen share because I literally just did a napkin last night for one of my clients that I think is probably fine to share.
Do we have any users of Napkin, other users? Um, oh, Julius.ai. I don't even know that tool. See, this is what I love. It's like we all have tools that we love. So Julius, I'm gonna bookmark that. Um, and then Chris is gonna pull up and share her. You should have screen share ability. If you don't, let me know. But and then we have another question in the paid version of ChatGPT. Can you save personas in your custom GPTs? Yes,
Yes,
like content creator and content editor. That's correct.
indeed. Let's see, I just sent you the request. Oh, there we go. Look at that.
Yeah,
All right, so literally I had ChatGPT take this is a day in the life paper that ChatGPT helped me write.
I'm not seeing your screen.
You're not?
No, how about other folks?
Oh, I'm sure it's me. So let's
Maybe
stop.
I've got to stop share.
Let's try again.
All
That
right.
work better?
Yeah. All right.
Yay. All right. So I had ChatGPT write a day in the life where before my client was in there, life is terrible for these fleet maintenance people. And then after AI comes in, and he's specifically using RAG, then how much better things are. So I then said, great, give me a script for an infographic, and then literally plugged in, you see these little generate visuals. I generated the visual. So I took the text and I generated the visual from it. Like here, it'll just now create a whole bunch of options for my little intro that I can pick or not pick. And I
Mm-hmm.
can do different colors, right? So you can add a bunch of data, and they've got dozens of different kinds of images that can be used. So it's taking the text that's just above it and it's pulling these into these really kind of cool visuals. You can usually tell when Napkins created something,
Mm-hmm.
but these are good enough then that I can either send to a designer to format in a way that I like. And so what I got here was breaking down operational efficiencies. This all pulled from my paper, enhancing field service, and then expected impact. So I could see a scenario where you tell ChatGPT to give you the data in a way that could become a cool infographic. And then each of these could be a slide. Like if you really
Mm-hmm.
wanted to go all cool visual, that the output from here you could copy and paste into your slides potentially for like an executive overview.
Yeah, and there is some editing capabilities, to your point, Chris, like as a napkin generated image. But what I've found to make them unique is you can, she's setting the color there. You can do custom colors, so your brand colors. You can edit the font. You can remove elements. And this is another tool that they're just upgrading all the time. And so I'm finding new features and functionality. It's just one more fun tool to have in your toolkit. All
Yeah,
right.
and it's free, by the way.
And it's free, right? As of right now, it's free. All right. Well, let me get back to wrap us up. I do want to give you this, which is our upcoming events. If you've enjoyed this event, you might enjoy a future event. So we've got March, April, and May all scheduled. The next one is really cool. It's the skills that you will need, and it's interesting skills. It's not like prompt engineering. It's like, how do you get more familiar with the technical side of AI so that you can better communicate with your boost your marketing productivity. We're going to talk about AI workflows. How do you start to operationalize AI in marketing? So all of those are upcoming. Chris, this is about you.
Yeah, so I already talked about most of this, but that QR code will let you link to me directly. So I'd love to chat with any of you. I'm happy to geek out about any of this, but know that my framing is really early stage tech startups that have limited to no budgets, limited to no infrastructure. And I look for companies that know their why, but not their how. But please reach out. I'm happy to geek out about this all day long.
Cool. And there's more free goodness. So I run a podcast called Marketing AI Radio, covers lots of marketing related AI topics. Also, I have this free 5 days to high impact. It's an email course. So every day for 5 days, you are going to get tips and tricks to identify some use cases in marketing. There is even more blogs, resources out on MarketingFrontier.ai. Um, hey, keep in touch. We like you. We love building this community. Thanks for showing up today. I know it's always hard to find time, and we hope you learned a thing or two. And if you did, maybe spread the word. All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a wonderful rest of your day.